Pastor, on behalf of the leadership and Beachville Baptist Church, we would like to give a little loving thing to Sister Cecily to show her that we don't forget about her, we love her, and we miss her a lot, and we hope she will get well soon, Ron, and the Lord come back.
Love to be here, but we know her circumstances.
And now we're going to have the sister of our speaker, our Sister Jermaine Howe, to introduce our speaker.
I'll try not to tell too many secrets. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to introduce my sister. She is the mother of 6 adult children, 13 biological grandchildren, and many adoptive grandchildren, and hundreds of nieces and nephews that call her Aunt. She turns 80 in July, and we call her the Energizer Bunny. Not no different than my other sister-in-law, who's already 80. It's the Energized Bunny too, Bernice. Artie recently lost her husband, which may have slowed down some women after being married for 50 plus years, but not her. She was married to the first black alderman of Halifax, Graham Downey, and Artie enjoyed the political life. All the glitz and glamour, rubbing shoulders with politicians and spouses, she enjoyed that. Artie never stops. Have you ever tried to catch her at home? Sure. I have a key. And I tell her sometimes, I've stopped by to visit you, but you weren't home. She says, well, why didn't you stay? I was coming right back. Who knows when she's coming back? She says, if the phone rings or a car stops by and says you want to go somewhere, I'm gone. I don't wait around for anybody because I don't know who's going to visit me. Graham was her message taker. Whether you called or stopped by, he made sure she got all her messages, all of them. And all she'd say, okay, Graham, okay, I got it. I think she may check her answer machines that she has now, maybe once a week. You know, she doesn't call you back. She finally has a cell phone, though, after many years of pressure from her children. However, rarely does she have it with her, turn it on, she can't find it, it's not charged, or she don't hear it in her purse. So she says, I don't want nobody tracking me down. As many of you know, Artie leads a very active life. She's a member of, now I'm not sure if I got this right, she's a member of the Daughters of the Nile, Sisters of the Stars, Seniors Group, Ladies Auxiliary, Empowered Women, Parent Resource Center, just to name a few. She recently joined our church choir, though, with her great alto voice. We're happy for that. She loves to cook. And as soon as she hears someone is in need or sick or lost a family member, she starts to cook, even delivering food to the hospital for everybody, not just the person that might be sick, but for the families. She started, or tried to start, or does have, a catering business. But her partner said she's too generous. She cooks too much, more than necessary, and she wouldn't make any money. But Artie doesn't cook to make money. She cooks to make people happy. You know, we know that. Those close to her know she always goes above and beyond for those that she loves. I can't speak for her children, but I know when my first child was born, Deanne, Artie moved in with me and my husband Reuben. And when Reuben passed away, she again moved in and took care of me and my children until she thought it was time for me to leave. Artie was in her late teens when I was born. She took care of me when our mom was in the hospital. She was a mom in training. Washing and braiding my hair was our weekly ritual. Hit me with the brush to sit still, pulling on your hair to keep your head straight, and braiding those braids so tight so they would last for a few days and you go to school with bumps. I think some of us know that. When Mom was in the hospital, Artie worked outside the home. I used to get so excited to see her get off the bus from work. Most times she had a treat for me. Sometimes it was a new-to-use outfit that was new to me, or a sweet. She was the first person to introduce me to a pomegranate. I'll never forget that. It was so much fun to open up that pomegranate. She taught me how to open it and eat the seeds and all that. I'll never forget that. I went many places with Artie and Grain when I was young, mainly on her dates. I guess she wanted Grain to see how great a mom she would be. Everyone that knows Artie knows that you're always welcome in her home. Even if you don't know her, her doors are always open. And I mean that literally. Strangers can walk in and find her sleeping on the couch as the door's open. She'd just wake up and say, "Can I get you something to eat?" So I'm sure Artie has a message for all of us that will feed our souls. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Candy. A good description of Artie. Now, after the song, hymn, we'll hear from the speaker. I had nothing but heartaches and trouble. I was seeking for fortune and fame. I had nothing but doubts and confusion. But now I have it. to everyone. Just bear with me because this is a hard day for me. I go back to many things of many mothers I had in my life as I was growing up as a little girl. My home was just across the way here where the empty lot is. And I joined the church when I was 12 years old. And at the time when I joined the church, there was a blind man that came on the bus. We had, years ago, we used to call them, the service that used to, yeah. He came to one of the service that was here at Beachville, and they let him off at the gate, and he was going around. I happened to be outside playing, and I seen this tall man, and he had a white cane. And so I ran down to the gate, and I asked him where was he going. He said, I'm looking for Beachville Baptist Church. And I said, oh, that's my church, like that. And so anyhow, I said, but church is out now because we have church 3 times a day on Sundays years ago. And I said, but you can come up to my home and wait until we go back to church because we haven't had dinner yet. So in the meantime, I took a hold of his arm and we walked up. And so every Sunday, he would come on that bus and I would meet him down at the gate and guide him over to the church. And at that time, I was about 10, I think. And when I turned 12, he said to me, Artie, are you God's child? I said, what's that? Like that to him. And I can remember his words so plain because he was the one that took me under his wing. And even though he couldn't see, he would tell me what scriptures to pick, to read. And I would have to read them loud to him. And then he in turn asked me questions. And I would have to tell him what I got from reading that scripture. And I went down in the water down at the lake at the age of 12. And, you know, he was a blessing to me. And every now and then he appears to me. When I know I'm doing wrong, it just seems like he's there for me. And I pray that he's here today for me to give this message. So I'm going to try to do my best for Esther. Dear Lord, I just ask you to come into my heart and soul today as I give this message. I pray that someone will receive something from it. God, just come into my mind, my soul, and bless all those who are here, including my family. In Jesus' name, amen. First of all, I think I should tell you why Esther became a queen. The king's personal attendants proposed, let search be made for a beautiful young virgin for the king. The king appointed the commissioners in his province of his realms to bring all these beautiful young women into the harem at the citadel of Susan. Let them be placed under the care of Hagar, the king and nurse, in charge of women, and let the beauty treatment be given to them. Then the young woman who pleased the king be queen instead of Vesta. This advice appealed to the king as he follows. And as whom he had brought up, because she neither had a father nor a mother, this young woman, who was also known as Esther, had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Mordecai had taken her as his own daughter, and when her father and mother died. So Mordecai was Esther's cousin, and she lost her mother and father at a young age. So he adopted her. Esther was also taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Hagar, who had charge after Haman. She pleased him and won his favor. Immediately he provided her with her beauty treatment and special food. He assigned to her 7 female attendants and select from the king's palace and moved her in attendance into the palace in Haman. Esther had not revealed her nationality and family background. Why she didn't do that? Mordecai had forbidden her. Why did he do that? Because if she had said that she was a Jew, he would have killed her. So this is why she didn't say what nationality she was. When Mordecai learned what had been done, he tore his clothes and put them on the sackcloth and ashes. He went into the city wailing and loud bitter. He could only go as far as the king's gate. Why? Because he wasn't wearing the proper clothes, for one thing, and the king didn't invite him in. There was great mourning among the Jews, who fasted, wept, and cried, and they were dressed like Mordecai. Esther was great in distress when they told her about Mordecai. She sent him clothes to put on. He refused to put them on. She wanted to know why Mordecai was so troubled. His servants went to ask Mordecai why he was so troubled. He told Hezekiah everything how Haman had promised to take money from the royal treasure to the destruction of the Jews. He also gave him a copy of the written decrees. He showed it to Esther and asked her to explain it to the king and begged for mercy and plead for her people. So he went and reported it to Esther what Mordecai said. Esther instructed Hatshepsut to say to Mordecai, all people of the royal province know that any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court with opium summons will be put to death. The king must extend his gold scepter and spare their lives. The story goes to explain that Esther spoke with the king, was killed the Jewish people. Because you are the king's host, you alone of all Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and diligence for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows, but you have come to the royal position for such time. And then, as you go on into reading Esther, it says, he was pleased with her and held out to her a golden scepter that was in his hand. Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. Did the king ask, what is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? Even up to the half of the kingdom, it will be given to you. And Esther replied, let the king together with Haman come today to my banquet I have prepared for him. Bring Haman at once, the king said. So they went to do what Esther asked. King and Haman went to the banquet Esther had prepared. As they were drinking wine, the king again asked Esther, what is your petition? It will be given to you. And what is your request? Esther replied, my petition and my request is this. If the king regards me with favor, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and fulfill my request, let the king and Haman come tomorrow to the banquet I will prepare for them. Then I will answer the king's question. So with that, the king also wanted to know what her petition and favor was, but Esther was holding back. Esther was scared, but she knew she had to do this because of her people. So she went to the king, and they went to the dinner at the banquet the next day. Mordecai at the king's gate and observed that he neither rose nor showed fear in his presence. He was filled with rage against Mordecai. Haman boasted to them about this fast, wealth and his many sons and all the way. He was boasting because he thought he had covered all his grassways, as you can call it, because he was going to the banquet with the king. Nobody else was invited, only him. But there was a surprise waiting for him there. And he said, many sons in all the ways the king had honored him, and how he had elevated him above the other nobles and the officials, and that not all Haman's added. I'm the only person Queen Esther invited to accompany the king to the banquet. She had invited me along with the king tomorrow, but all this gives me no satisfaction as long as I see the Jew Mordecai sitting at the king. He still wasn't happy because Mordecai was still sitting at the gate, so he wanted to get rid of him. His wife and all his friends said to him, have a pole set up reaching to the height of the 50 cubits, and ask the king in the morning to have Mordecai impaled on it. Mordecai had supposed a big and pressed two of the king's officials to guard the doorway who had prepared to assassinate the king. Nothing had been done for him. He attended and answered. The king said, who is in the court? Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the palace to speak to the king about implanting Mordecai on the pole he had set up for him. His attendants answered, Haman is standing in the court. The king said, bring him in. The king ordered. When Haman entered, the king asked him, what should be done for the man the king delights to honor? Now Haman thought to himself, who is this? Who is there that the king would rather honor than me? So he answered the king, for the man's king delights to honor have them brought a royal robe, and the king has worn in a horse, and the king has ridden. One that the royal crest is on his head. Then let the robe and the horse be entrusted to the one of the king, most noble princes. Let them robe the man the king delights to honor, and lead him on the horse through the city and streets, proclaiming before him, this is what is done for men in the king's delight to honor. Go at once, he said to his men. The king commanded to Haman, get the robe and the horse, and do just as you have suggested for Mordecai. The Jew who sits at the king's gate, do not neglect anything you have recommended. So they rode him lead him on a horseback through the city streets and proclaiming before him, this is what is done for the man the king delights to honor. Afterward, Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Haman rushed home with his head covered in grief, and told his wife and all his friends everything that had happened to him. His advisor and his wife said to him, "Since Mordecai, before whom your downfall has started, is of Jews' origins, you cannot stand against him. You will surely come to ruin." While they were still talking with him, the king and News arrived and hurried Haman away to the banquet Esther had prepared. Here's the big one. Esther answered, "If I have found favor in you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition, and spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to destroy, kill. If any merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king." King asked Queen Esther, "Who is he? Where is he? The man who had dared to do such a thing?" Esther said, "Haman." Then Haman was terrified before the king and the queen. The king got up in a rage and left his wine and went out into the palace garden. But Haman realizing that the king had already decided his fate, staying behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. Even though he was willing to get rid of her and all her family as the Jews, now he's begging for his life, because Queen Esther would be the only one to be able to save him. Just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. The king exclaimed, "Will he even molest the queen while she is with me in my house?" As soon as the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face, and Harbon, one of the eunuchs attending the king, said, "A pole reaching to the highest 50 cubits span by Haman's house he had set up for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king." The king said, "Impale him on it." So they impaled Haman on the pole he had set up as Mordecai, and the king's fury subsided. So the story goes to explain that Esther spoke with the king. Haman was killed, and the Jewish people were spared. I'm going to give you a little talk why I picked Esther. Many years ago, I got involved with the youth at my children's school, St. Patrick's Alexander. I talked with a few teachers and 2 ministers about what's happening with the youth in our community. I also spoke with the police with the hope of having a group to help our youth. How could we help? I waited, but did not hear from anyone. I believe I went on a very high shelf. It went on a very high shelf in their office. I stopped pursuing this for many years, but last 10 years I developed a new interest. There were many restless nights and days that I wrestled with what could I do.